All right, first question. In the next 6 months, is your headcount going to increase, decrease, or stay the same? Let's hit your buttons, please. I love the countdown in the corner. You've got 4 seconds left to get your decision in. Hey, good news. Kevin, does this match your stats? So 2/3 of you think it's going to increase. 22% say it's going to stay the same, or maybe you're going to get to do some replacements. And 16% of you say it's going to go down. So those 16%, look around, raise your hand, because maybe you're looking for a job. Is that kind of it? So there may be some good headhunting going on here as well. All right, thank you very much. I'd like to kick off then with Kevin Green. The REC. Kevin, what are you going to talk to us about? The REC?
A range of things, I think.
All right,
okay.
Kevin.
Cheers, Alan. Thank you for the invite, job post. Delighted to be here. In terms of the stats that you've just done, we do a survey every month of employers called Jobs Outlook about their hiring intentions. And the data shows that 76% of employers are going to grow their workforce in the next quarter. So when I go round, I've been in Scotland for the last couple of days talking to recruiters. And in reality, the jobs market is as good as it's been for 15 years. Our data goes back to 97. We've not seen all 9 sectors of the UK economy growing at the speed that they're currently growing. So it's a great time to be in recruitment. I think it's a great time to be in the talent industry and an in-house recruiter. So first of all, I thought I'd just touch off by telling you a little bit about the REC. Many of you know who we are. And when I'm talking to the HR and talent community, where I come from, what I'm really saying to you guys is just make sure you use an REC agency. That's your way of quality assuring your provider. It's like when you book a holiday, you'll only go with a company that's part of APTA. It's exactly the same. You have recourse. We have a big team called our complaints and compliance team. If you have a problem with an REC member, then we'll take action against them. We have a standards committee, codes of conduct, the TUC and the CBI sits on it. So always look for the REC badge. That's my advert at the beginning. And also in terms of the individuals that you use. The Institute of Recruitment Professionals is our professional institute for recruitment professionals. That means that they've got the experience or qualifications to prove their professional competency. So are you an REC member? And are your consultants members of the Institute of Recruitment Professionals? That's the one I'm going to say to you. Hopefully you'll log that and that you spend time making sure you talk to your procurement colleagues about that as well. So what I'm going to talk about is jobs generally, what's going on in the jobs market, innovation, what's going to drive the creation of new jobs in the UK economy in the next 10 years. And then I'm going to talk about A and E equaling P, and potentially a few things that you need to think about that. So a little bit of an equation. So I think as I'm going through, you're going to be thinking, what's this guy on about? What does A represent? What's E? And what does it give us in P? And then I'm going to finish with something which is the biggest campaign that the REC's ever put on. We're doing it with the CIPD, CBI, SIPS, most of the professional bodies in the UK. And it's about promoting good recruitment to the whole of the UK employers across the nation. And you've only launched it in April, and it's got great traction, and I really would like just to get you to have a look at it. So that will be my little plug at the end. So 2 things: think about the good recruitment campaign, and make sure your suppliers are REC members. Right, let's talk a bit about jobs. The first thing, I suppose, is just the creation and destruction of jobs. This is a slide that I think, when I was thinking about today's presentation, I was thinking about my father. I lost my father in January. He was born in 1933, and he was an engineer. And for him, his whole life, so whenever we went anywhere, whenever he talked to anybody, people would say, "What do you do, Derek?" And he'd say, "I'm an engineer." And he was very proud of it. And that's what created his identity. That's what he thought of himself as. He worked in 2 organisations, one of those organisations for 40-odd years. So what's interesting is the way people perceive themselves is changing. But in terms of jobs, people originally used to see their job as what created their identity, what created their belief in themselves. And if you start to think about what's happening in the jobs market, here's another job that people used to do and don't do anymore. I was at a family function recently. I've got a 19-year-old son, and someone said, an older person said, what did they used to do? And they described themselves as a milkman. And my son went, wow, people used to deliver milk to your door. That's unbelievable. And I'm sitting there going, how long ago was it before, since we've lost milkmen? So, those jobs have gone. They've been destroyed by innovation and the way that we now purchase things. How about this one? I was thinking about this because when I was 19, earlier than that, 17, I joined a local authority. And my politics were quite strange at that age. I was involved in a strike at this local authority. And what was interesting is we brought the local authority to its knees. This was in 1979 by taking out the phone operators. Just think about that. So we took out a group of 12, 13 people, and the whole council stopped providing services because no one could phone them up because everything had to go through the exchange. Now think about what we walk around with it in our hands, A mobile phone where we can connect to anybody at any time in any part of the zone. I was doing some streaming recently with some people in South Africa from my mobile phone, But in 1979, everyone had to go through the exchange where people actually made these connections with wires, So the jobs market is changing incredibly quickly. And if you look at these pictures and you think, well, is it any surprise? How about this one? In communities, particularly with manufacturers and in mining towns, they actually employed someone to go around waking people up. That's what you had, a big pole, used to bang on the window. So the world, then you think, well, alarm clocks came along, so that job was eroded and disappeared. And you now think about mobile phones, and again, the amount of technology that we have in our hands. So jobs have always been destroyed. Now, LinkedIn were doing something recently. I was at a conference, and this started to make me laugh. So, here's some jobs of the future. If you look at their thing, if you look on LinkedIn, there are 410 people that describe their jobs as chief storytellers. Now, I don't know what a chief storyteller does. I don't know if it's actually working in schools with young people, or they've been employed by corporate organisations to create narratives around their vision and values. But it's starting to think. So think about the jobs have gone, and here are some new ones. So you could be a chief story officer. Here's another one, chief transformation officer. I sort of did a bit of work like that at Royal Mail, and I can remember feeling that I had to be like the Hulk every day to try and create some of the change that we were trying to create when I was there between 2003 and 2008. But this is the job that I really liked. If you come across one of these, let me know. A chief awesome officer. Honestly, 30 people, according to LinkedIn, describe themselves as a chief awesome officer. I just imagine the type of character that might be, don't you? I'm a chief awesome officer. So the point I'm saying is jobs have always been destroyed by technology, by innovation, and new jobs created. The point is the speed of that change is getting faster. The sort of destruction of jobs used to be at like 5%, 6% every sort of 5 years. It's now 20, 25% of jobs and job titles are disappearing. And one of the things that's fascinating is LinkedIn are starting to track this and starting to look at where the job title growth is and what are the ones that are in decline. So I think the point I'm saying is if you're in the innovation space or you're in the talent space or you're a recruiter, then your ability to think about the requirements of your organisation, to be able to define that and then attract it is going to be one of the key facets about whether you're successful or not. Let's just touch on innovation. Why am I talking about that? Well, because I think that drives the whole economy. Here are some statements about people that were talking about innovation. So let's have a bit of audience participation. The telephone has too many shortcomings to be considered a serious means of communication. Who do you think said that? Come on, guys, bit of audience participation. Throw out a name. Mr. Bell, well, you weren't far wrong. It was the Western Union. So they were the people that were engaged in establishing telecommunications. Everything that can be invented has been invented. So who said that? Who's interested in innovation and ideas? Well, it was the US Patent Office in 1899. So can you imagine a patent office before the start of the 20th century saying everything that's been invented has been invented? How about this one then? Who the hell wants to hear actors talk? That was Warner Brothers studio. You can imagine that now? Who wants to hear, like we sort of can get the gist of them doing things without using language. So I think the world has a market for maybe 5 computers. So who do you think said this? Who? IBM, spot on. So there you go, 1943. Watson, who's creating the computers. Actually, we only need 5 computers globally. And then who do you think said the final one? And by the way, 600, I'm not a technologist, but 640 kilobytes, what do you think that is? It's equivalent to something like 0.1% of the capacity of your mobile phone. So this was said by Bill Gates in 1981. So what is interesting is that innovation isn't always seen by the people that are in the middle of it. So what's interesting about this is not these things were said, but by who they were said by. So it's the patent office that's saying, actually, we don't see there being a lot more innovation. It was Bill Gates by saying we don't need any more capacity than 640 kilobytes. It was the IBM saying, I only see the growth of 5 computers. Because sometimes when you're deep within an industry or a space, you don't see the change that's going on around you, and you're not perhaps scanning the environment. The point is innovation, and the second trend, which was, I was at a conference in San Diego recently, and someone was just talking about demography. So innovation is clearly one of the things that's going to create new jobs. The other one is just the potential demand. So this is showing you middle class. This is purchasers of service. And just look at these 2 figures. So India and China, in 2014, account for 10% of the middle class. Go forward 35 years, which is the same time as I was talking about in relation to phone operators, so it's not that long ago, 35 years, and you've now got 55% of the world's middle class will be in China and India. The growth in the purchasing power of some of the developing economies is going to be huge. So you've got 2 drivers that's going to create wealth. And I think the thing that we see when you talk about, and you listen to the economists or the politicians, it's always very, very negative. In reality, we're wealthier, we're healthier, we live longer, and we're all richer. And the world will continue to do that over the next 35 years. And you start to think about the growth in the middle class, and you start to think about some of the innovations. There was a technologist from Massachusetts Institute, and he was talking about the curve of innovation in the next 20 years. And he said, this is where we are now. That's been the speed of innovation around technology. And what's going to happen is it's going to go like that. And here are a whole host of different things. Because again, this is about technology today. I'm just going to pick on 3D printing. Because I go back to my father that I started with. And he used to take me, when you're a kid, I used to get taken around factories and things. And I'd often look at what they were doing. I mean, I decided quite early I'd never be in manufacturing. It's quite interesting, that. And to the day he died, he never understood what I did. HR, personnel, what's all that? You don't actually make anything. What's the product? That was his view of the world. But 3D printing was interesting because I saw this presentation, which was, if you think about a manufacturing process, every manufacturing process, everything we design is built by taking some raw material and then doing something to it. You cut it, you bend it, you shape it, you heat it up, you stretch it, but you take some raw material, and as you go through creating a product, there's a huge amount of wastage. And if you look at the innovation about operations design and manufacturing design, they will spend their life, people, thinking about how do we make our manufacturing process efficient and lean, and we do it as well as we can possibly do. And then I saw this guy talk about 3D printing. Do any of you know anything about 3D printing? Anyone knows a lot about 3D printing? Put your hand in the air. Yeah, okay, it's a bit like me about 2 months ago. But 3D printing is basically you put a design, you design something on a computer or on a laptop or an iPad or whatever it may be, and then you basically design it. It will be designed using the raw materials layer by layer. Just think about what that means in terms of manufacturing process. So you don't take a piece of raw material and then chop stuff away or bend it or stretch it or do whatever you need to do with it. It just builds it, designed to the complete specification. And if you think of it, so this guy was speaking, and there were lots of people from Boeing and BAE Systems, big manufacturers, and they were absolutely fascinated. And the reason why they're fascinated is it was going to completely change the whole of their industry about how you produce products. We're no longer going to have factories. We're going to have machines that just build stuff. And actually people said, well, this all sounds a bit far-fetched. It was only when Boeing said, well, actually, we're building large parts of our engines and our planes using 3D printing now. And over the next 10 years, this is going to completely change the skills and the jobs that we require in our organisation. So I'm picking one example just to say there's a huge innovation going on, and that innovation is going to destroy current jobs and create new jobs. So what I'm saying to you is you think about what's happened in the last 10 or 15 years, it's going to get that much better. The other one I just wanted to touch on was I'm a diabetic, and I have to inject myself 4 times a day using this sort of technology. What was interesting was that this guy from Smith & Nephew was talking about medical devices, and he was saying we are 2 years away from putting a chip under human beings' skin that measures their blood sugar and releases insulin directly into their bloodstream. So the people that manufacture this, all those jobs are gone. All those factories building injections, gone. Because we can put a little piece of technology under the skin that controls it. And then he started to talk about the benefits to the health system of this. 25% of everybody that's in hospital is a diabetic because of all the side effects of diabetes. If you then start to control blood sugar much more effectively because it's controlled by the human mechanism in relation to technology, you will save billions and billions of pounds and make people that much healthier. So you start to think about the change in industry and the change in jobs by just saying we're going to change one thing, one piece of technology comes along that gets us to innovate and create value for our customers in a different way. But the whole spectrum of what that means in terms of the labour market is phenomenal. So I can talk about lots of other bits and pieces, but just take out off of that board 2 things that are fundamentally going to change the types of jobs we have in our economy in the next 5 or 10 years. Now, how many people have got an iPad? Right, so this was fascinating. Simple piece of kit. 80–90% of people got one. I can remember having an iPhone and a laptop going, why do I need an iPad? I've now got an iPad, and like my son, it's sort of connected to me quite a lot. But here are just some of the things that have been destroyed by the creation, and not just by the creation of the iPad, but certainly speeded up by it. And there's many on there. Just think about how we, A to Z, maps. I used that to get my iPhone to get here today, using their map device where it shows you a little blue dot, and you sort of follow it like a bit of a strange person. You see people walking along looking at their phone and then looking up at buildings, don't you? Whereas we used to walk along with an A to Z and a map. So if you're in the A to Z business, you're gone, you're destroyed, there's no need for it. Who's going to buy maps now? And you can go on and on and on. Just think about how some of this stuff is changing the way we, tickets. You're out at an airport, people just put their phone at the thing. You used to have travel agents, and then you used to get printed tickets, and then you used to print the boarding card yourself. Now you just take the phone and stick it on the sensor. We're changing the way, the innovation and technology is changing the way we do stuff, and this is fundamentally changing the jobs market. So that's the first big point, really, is growth in middle class, the ability for huge growth, rapid growth in technology and different ways of applying that. Combining things together means we've got decades of innovation, but what it also means is we've got years and years of changing jobs market. So if I said, I've been in HR, I've done this job for 6 years. I was HR director at Royal Mail for 5. I did run an HR consultancy providing strategic advice to lots of businesses for 15 years. I've been in the jobs market, and there's never been a more exciting time to be in the jobs market, to be in HR, to be in talent, be in resourcing, because the speed of change and what we're going to have to do to understand the requirements of our businesses and then go out and attract and bring the talent in and then manage the talent. Because once we've got it, holding on to it's going to be as much of a challenge. So, quick touch up on the jobs market. I'm not going to do a lot on this, but 2 reports we produce. This is a lead indicator. Bank of England, Prime Minister quotes it all the time. We've been doing it since '97 with KPMG. And what it is saying is, as I said right at the beginning, the jobs market is booming in the UK. All 9 industrial sectors, there's an index of 50. Anything above 50 indicates growth. Every single sector of the UK jobs market is above 60. And I can show you a graph that goes like that. And that means that employers are becoming more confident, they're investing, they're doing some of the stuff I talked about, technology, and they're certainly requiring more people and a range of people across the whole of the jobs market. Second survey is a survey of employers. And again, you can look at this graph. This is confidence of employers. And it starts here a year ago and it ends here. And this is confidence in the jobs market. We also have got hiring intentions. 76% of employers saying they're going to grow their workforce in the next 3 months. And the same percentage saying they're going to grow their workforce in the next year. So, the jobs market is, we've got record employment, unemployment falling at the fastest pace it's fallen. So we've got a really buoyant jobs market. Now, this is the issue. A year ago, we had 9 areas of skill shortage. We've now, as of last week when we produced it, got 47 areas of job shortage in the UK, or skill shortage. And it is we are growing the level of skill shortages every month by about 3 or 4. And there is no doubt that in a year's time, I think we're going to have 100, 120 areas of skill shortage because employers are struggling to find not just skill, but the talent they're looking for. And I used the Gallup definition of talent when I was in HR, which was I want the core skill, I want the HR qualification, I want 5 years experience, the same with finance, the same with procurement, but I'm really looking for talent. And there's 3 things I use to define talent. And it's the Gallup's 3, which is 1, people can think strategically and roll their sleeves up and make something happen. So I'm looking for core competence, HR skills, finance skills, plus think strategically, see the big picture, roll their sleeves up and make something happen in the organisation. Sort of get it. Second area. What do you think? Anyone want to give a hazard a guess? Second area of talent, difference between skill and talent. Second one is they're change orientated. They welcome change. They really like to work in an environment where they can manage people and manage process change, but actually they welcome that ability to manage and lead in an environment where it's changing. So I'm looking for a great, so let's use finance because it always was the biggest challenge. I'm looking for a new financial controller. I'm looking for them to be professionally qualified, 10 years experience, and then I'm saying, but I want them to be able to think big picture, think strategically, actually roll their sleeves up and make something happen in the organisation. A bit of a challenge. Then I'm going, but I also want them to be change orientated. Well, we're struggling to find them now. The big long list is being whittled away as we start to look at people. And then the final area to define talent, inspire and motivate others. Now we're really struggling. So my long list of potential financial controllers has gone from 200 down to 100, and I'm now down to very few. Because actually, if we've got skill shortages that we measure very clearly in the UK, if you start to think about talent shortages, it's much more difficult to find talent. Finding skill, finding someone 5 years, got a CIPD qualification, great. But if they're an HR professional, show me what they've done. What have they changed? What have they created in the jobs that they've done before? Can they inspire others? Can they manage others? Do they like working in a change environment? So that's really the talent that you're struggling for, and it's going to get harder and harder and harder. Partly because of this. I saw a presentation by a demographer, and like you, I sat at the back, thought I'd do a few emails. So I got a demographer coming on for an hour and a half. This is going to be exciting. He's going to talk about, population change. What he did is he did a very great presentation. He said, Boom, Bust, Echo. It's the name of his book, if any of you want to get it. Boom, Bust, Echo. And he said, we have got a huge challenge in the developed world because as the economy starts to grow, and we've got skill shortages and talent shortages, the size of the working population shrinks hugely over the next 15 years in every single developed economy. So we've got just fewer people in the mix. Fastest growing part of the UK jobs economy, over 60s. If you really want to start thinking about how you bring talent into your organisation, start thinking about how you bring people back from semi-retirement or retirement. Huge opportunity. Think about the young people that we need to bring into our organisations. But the working population, 15 years ago, we had 3 people of working age supporting 1 person of non-working age. 10 years in the future, that number is inversed. 1 person of working age supporting 3 people of non-working age. And that includes children and people over 60, 65. So you're just going to have fewer people. You've got talent shortages now, we've got skill shortages now, and there's just going to be fewer people in the mix. Then I thought I'd talk a bit about attitudes to work. And again, I go back to my 19-year-old, my son Tom, who's at university. wanted to be a drummer. I've convinced him to do politics. I think I've made some progress. I think I've done quite well. I've done my job as a parent. You know, he was convinced he was going to be in the next Dave Grohl, Foo Fighters drummer, travel the world, you know. And he's a pretty good drummer. He's done his grade 8 at Guildhall, so he's got some talent. But I'm going, yeah, but chances about 1 in a million, son. So let's back it up with something else. Let's not do the music degree. Let's do something else. And of course, I've done the parental stuff. I've brought him off. So what I've done is I've said is get a 2-1, and I'll give you a year doing the music thing at the end. You know, you can do your diploma in at drum tech or whatever. The issue that I've got here is just in terms of his attitude to work. He talks about business. The other day he said to me, I don't think we should go to Starbucks. Why don't we go to Starbucks? Well, they don't pay their tax. Talks to his mother about Amazon and not buying anything off Amazon. Very, very cynical. He still has the brands, by the way. You know, it's like most teenagers, slightly incongruous. But he's got a real dislike, actually, for large businesses, and so have his friends when I hear him talk. Very, very cynical. But what's interesting, Apprentice, Dragon's Den, business programs, I'm passionate about business. Please, they're on TV, mainstream TV. But every single one of those programs talks about how wonderful am I. This is my idea. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be famous. Let me do this. Some of those people on The Apprentice, I think, are unemployable, to be honest. Oh, you just wouldn't touch them, would you? You look at them and go, honestly, please, don't recruit any of them. I'm brilliant, let me run the project team. You know, when they give feedback, you know, it's when they start giving the feedback, you know you've got a real problem, don't you? I was brilliant, they were rubbish, they let me, that's like, oh, anyhow. So, and then we've got the whole celebrity culture, X Factor, TV, you know, want to be famous, everyone can be famous, blah, blah, blah. And the thing that's interesting is, what do you think this is doing to attitudes of young people? So Accenture do a survey every 10 years, 91, 2001, 2011. 1991, 17% of under 21-year-olds said they wanted to run their own business, be self-employed, be a contractor, whatever. 17%. Did the survey in 2001. Did it again in 2011, 3 years ago. What do you think the percentage was? 50%? Other people, give us a shout out some numbers. 70? 70, did someone say? 35. How much? 35. 83%. So, I'm painting this picture. The jobs market's getting better. We've got 900,000 young people unemployed. You guys, businesses are going to employ more young people over the next few years because we're going to start doing graduate programs again and hiring apprentices and all the things we should have been doing all the way through. We're going to start hiring young people because we need the potential in our organisations. What they're going to be doing, though, is sat there thinking, let me get the experience, let me get the skills, and I'm going to piss off and do my own thing. So just think about the challenge, yeah? Think about the challenge. So young people, we'll start employing them, we'll bring them into organisations, but their mindset is, I don't believe in this, I want to get in, learn the skills, learn the capability, and then go off and do my own thing. This is great news for my industry, the recruitment industry. This is what we want. Shortages, skill shortages, talent shortages, you guys struggling, not enough people in the marketplace, people coming in and leaving, the fluidity. So, this comes to the equation. Now, you know this, so I'm going to do this very, very quickly. Alan's given me the 5 minutes left sign. So if you think I've been talking fast now, the next 2 minutes are going to be incredible. And I can talk on this for about an hour and a half easily. So I'm going to do it very quickly. A, any idea what A stands for? This is what you guys, in-house recruiters, talent, HR people are going to be focusing on. A, attitude? No, not quite. Acquisition, close. Attraction. Attraction. So, and this is a piece of research we did a couple of years ago around employer branding. Everyone's got an EVP statement. Everyone's written it down. We've all done it. We've been on the workshops. We've had the conversation. I think 90% of it is tosh. I really do, you know. And you're going to be found out. And you know you're going to be found out. And we all know we're going to be found out. And I'm not saying, you know, when I was at Royal Mail, trust me, we had to work very hard on our employer branding. And our message was quite interesting. So we had all the branding experts come in. They all did their pitches and they did some creative work. We said, we can't go out into the marketplace. We were getting rid of 10,000 managers and hiring another 2,500. We were losing £1.5 million a week. So the change was quick and nasty and hard. Our proposition to the marketplace was this. It's chaos. It's going to be tough. Do you want to join us? because we wanted to attract people that were going to live in the reality. There was no point saying it's going to be brilliant. We're going to develop you. You're going to have a wonderful career. You're going to be supported and developed. We've got all the things that you're going to need. The packages are wonderful. Because they'd have come in and within 3 months they'd have gone, that was a load of old nonsense you told me during the recruitment process. So make it real. It's got to be real. It's got to be real, partly because of all of this stuff, you know. And I heard a recruiter talking to the client the other day, and there was a huge debate about mobile or not mobile. Everyone has this thing in their hand. My 19-year-old the other day, he waits on Saturday night to see the best offer. Don't know how old, there's a lot of younger people in the audience, but I used to organise my social activity on a Tuesday or Wednesday. Saturday night we'll meet 8 o'clock there and we'll go out together. He's now on a Saturday night going, well, not sure about that offer. Oh, there's that party. I might go to that. Makes a decision about 6 o'clock in the evening. Anyhow, he said to me on Saturday afternoon, I'm not sure if I'm going to go out with Louis and meet those guys. I'm going to meet a couple of girls and do this thing. Fair enough. I said, why don't you phone them? Why don't you phone Louis? And honestly, the look I got was, he looked at his phone, he looked at me, and then we looked at his phone records. He's had his current handset for about 2.5 years. Only person he's ever spoken on the phone to is his mother. He's never talked to his friends, none of them. So Facebook, you know, Facebook, whatever, but it's all want a thumb, you know. So if you can't find a job and I can't send my CV within 2 clicks of my thumb, then you're going to lose a lot of the talent. So the whole thing is that's going to change the whole attraction process and just how we do it. The second one is what I've talked about. These guys are cynical. It's all about me, me, me. How do you build a proposition to really attract them? And then you've got all of this stuff going on, which is actually, it's transparent. So if you say it's brilliant and we do this and you developed and within 2 years you'll get a promotion and your manager will be brilliant, they'll go on this and look at it and they'll go, well, actually, loads of the people that work in your organisation saying they don't get development and the managers aren't very good and it's not a great place. So when I go back to your employer branding proposition, it's got to be real because everybody will be able to see what's going on in your organisation. If it's not these organisations, it'll be another. So, who likes Bruce Springsteen? I'm a bit of an old rocker myself. Now, here's the lyrics to a couple of Springsteen songs. And what I think, I did an article for HR Magazine last week, 2 weeks ago, saying Bruce Springsteen is an HR guru. And I got, it went global, it's quite interesting. I'm practicing with this stuff, you know, my son thinks I'm an old fogey, so I did this blog and it went all over the place. 2 songs, I'm not going to read out the lyrics to you, but it describes, I think he's a commentator about how people feel about work. This bit gets me, you know, I get up every morning, go to work each day, but your eyes go blind, your blood run cold, sometimes I feel so weak. And then he talks about his father. He goes through the mansions of pain. I see my daddy working through the factory gates in the rain. Factory takes his hearing. Factory gives him life, the work. So he talks about work a lot. He always talks about a working class hero rising above the difficult work environment. And what's interesting, people say to me, that's all 19th, 20th century. It's not like that anymore. Have you really talked to your frontline employees in your call centres? Have you really talked to them about how they feel about your organisation? They still feel like this. High percentage. We've got modern workplaces, but actually, this is still how lots of employees feel about their organisation. So the E stands for engagement, because disengagement gives you that sort of thing, you know. I'm employed to paint the white lines. There's a blooming great tree across my track. If I'm sort of engaged, I get up and move the tree, don't I? You know. Not a huge level of engagement, is it? I'm going to stop, walk around my little paint machine, and pop the thing on it. But I tell you what, I don't really give a monkey, so I'm going round it. That's, you know, and you just think about that on a global scale across your whole organisation. Disengage people that don't really care. This is also interesting, some career builder stats here. 2 figures I just want to pull out. 74% of all employees, big survey, North America, Europe, are searching for a new job or are open to opportunities. 74% of your workforce are open to new opportunities. And I won't share the other 2 stats because they're quite frightening, but let me just move over to this one. And 35% are preparing for their next job within weeks of starting the new one. So everyone's open. Forget, you know, they're solid, we've engaged them. 74% of everyone's interested in getting a new job. You tap them on the shoulder, they go, well, tell me about that, sounds quite interesting. And then 35%, they've got the new job, they're going, let me think about the next one. So think about how how do you engage? How do you turn people on? How do you make it a great work environment? So Gallup data, it's based on a survey in Holland and in Scandinavia. Upper quartile engaged employees, this is what you get. 2%, they're healthier people. People that are happy at work are healthier. They're 9%, 9 times more loyal. They have 6 times less sick absence. They're 55% more creative. So you attract the right people, you engage the right people, and you'll get superior performance. Upper quartile engagement gives you superior performance. So A and E equals P. Attract the right people, engage the right people, you'll get superior performance. However, there's a caveat. And the caveat is, I'm an HR person, you're HR people. Any idea what you think the caveat's going to be? Who drives engagement? Managers. It's all about the managers. There is nothing else in HR. I spent 35, 40 years, my whole career. It's always about your frontline managers. You get the right ones, you give them the right skills. If they're good leaders and managers of people, you'll get superior performance. And I'd love to go through my stories about Woodward winning World Cup. I think I'll just pick on Scorsese. Scorsese, because any of you seen The Wolf of Wall Street? Fantastic film. I was in hysterics, one of the best films. It went on for 3 hours. I couldn't believe I could laugh for so long. But one of the things that's interesting about Scorsese, won the Oscar, he's worked with a number of actors many, many times. Robert De Niro, Taxi Driver, early careers. He then Daniel Day-Lewis, a whole range of different films with him, and he now uses Leonardo DiCaprio. And they say he works twice as hard as any other producer, but we'll give our best. If Scorsese phone, I'll drop it. Doesn't matter what the pay is, because he'll get a performance out of me. He always uses the same cinematographer, the same sound people. They'll walk over hot coals for him, because he brings out the best in them. They love working for him. And it's the same with any of these guys. I just must touch on the Olympics, and I'm sorry, Alan, I will finish, I promise. But I must touch on the Olympics, because everyone forget, wasn't it a great success? We had that wave, 2012, I was part of it. The volunteers, we all felt great about our country. But everyone forgets the 2 years before, when we all walked around going, it's going to be a shambles. It's going to rain, it's going to be embarrassing, nothing's going to work, the world's going to laugh at us. And that guy created a fantastic organisation. Now, the 2 HR directors there, they were phenomenal at doing that stuff, because people really wanted to, so how do you create that environment? You've got to get the right managers and leaders in your organisation. Those are the things I always look for. I suppose the 2 things, have they got natural empathy? Are they good with people? You know this, just put them in a room, get them to talk to the current team and get feedback from the current team. Clarity about great performance. Great leaders, great managers are absolutely clear about what good performance is, and they don't compromise, but they give the feedback. This is acceptable, this is brilliant, well done, I love it, we'll do it again. DiCaprio talks about Scorsese getting him out of bed at 4 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and he's got the contract that says he only does the sort of office hours, to do another take, the 45th take of a particular scene. Why does he do that? Because he doesn't have to do it. Because they want to go the extra mile, because he believes in the guy that's actually leading that team or that organisation. Discretionary effort. It's all about leaders and managers, so find people that have got the potential. Now, I'm going to touch on this. Basically, Good Recruitment Campaign is a big campaign. We've defined what good recruitment looks like. There's 9 key principles involved. These are the business organisations that are supporting it. CIPD, HR Society, Investors in People, ACAS, CBI, everybody who's anybody, DEA, Alan's organisation. These are all the employers that have signed up. We only launched this on the 18th of April, so it's only been going about 2 months. And we really are keen for you to look at it and decide whether you want your organisation to look at yourself and say, are we following good practice in recruitment? 9 key principles. It talks about candidate experience. It talks about ethics, about your process for recruitment. I'm not going to go into detail. Also, I'm saying, Steve, are you here? Where is Steve? That's Steve. Steve's going to be around for the morning, so if you want to find out more, talk to him. If not, go to the REC website and look at the Good Recruitment Campaign. We think it will radically change the whole view, and we want to start a conversation about how do you attract talent and we want to talk directly to employers, and that's why we've got all these other business organisations involved. So hopefully you've enjoyed what I've had to say. I could have gone on for hours, but Alan's ripped up his 5-minute to go sign now. He stuck it under his chair. He's now redesigning his agenda for the rest of the day. So thank you for listening to me. Hope you've enjoyed it. You've got a few insights. It's all about the managers and thinking about your attraction and engagement strategy. Thanks very much, and I'll hand over back to Alan.
Thank you, Kevin.